My name is Sofia Rivera. I'm 31. 3 days ago at 2:47 p.m., my father called me for the first time in 7 years, and the first words out of his mouth were, "You owe us everything, Sofia. We're your parents." I was standing in my studio in Austin, Texas, holding a microphone worth more than my childhood bedroom furniture combined, staring at caller ID I'd blocked in 2019. I let it go to voicemail. When I played it back, his voice had that same edge it always had when he wanted something. "Your mother and I know about your little business. We know exactly how much it's worth. Call us back by Friday or we'll make sure everyone knows what kind of daughter you really are." I saved the voicemail. I'd need it later. Before I go on, if stories about standing up for yourself mean something to you, please hit like and subscribe, and tell me in the comments where you're watching from right now and what time it is there. Let me take you back 8 years to when I still believed my family loved me. I was 23, fresh out of college with a communications degree and $43,000 in student loans. My sister Isabella was 26, working in pharmaceutical sales, living in a condo my parents helped her buy. I was sleeping on a friend's couch in San Antonio, picking up freelance gigs editing podcasts for $25 an hour. My parents made it clear at Sunday dinners which daughter was worth investing in. "Isabella closed a six-figure deal this quarter," my mother would say, loading Isabella's plate with extra enchiladas. Then she'd look at me. "Sophia, are you still doing that computer thing?" That computer thing was audio editing. I was good at it. Better than good. I could take someone's rambling podcast interview and turn it into something people actually wanted to hear. I could narrate audiobooks in 6 different character voices. But my parents saw it as playing around on the internet, not a real career. Not like Isabella's sales position with the company car and the expense account. The first time my father said it, I was helping my mother clean up after dinner. Isabella had just announced she'd been promoted to regional director. My father raised his wine glass. "To Isabella, the daughter who made something of herself." Then he looked at me, still holding the dish towel. "Sophia, you'll never measure up to your sister. You should stop trying." I remember my hands going numb around the wet dish. The words hung there. My mother didn't disagree. Isabella looked uncomfortable but didn't say anything. I finished the dishes. I drove home. I sat in my car for 40 minutes before I could turn the key. That was October 2018. 5 months later, everything changed. It was March 15th, 2019, 8:14 on a Friday morning. I was recording a chapter for a client's memoir when my phone started vibrating. My mother, then Isabella, then my mother again. I let them go to voicemail because I was mid-session, but the calls kept coming. Finally, I stopped recording and answered. "Sophia." My mother's voice was shaking. "It's Isabella. She's at St. David's Medical Center. They found a tumor on her ovary. She needs emergency surgery today, but insurance won't cover it all. We need $15,000 by noon or they'll cancel the surgery." My stomach dropped. "What? Is she okay? Can I talk to her?" "She's prepping for surgery now. Sophia, I know you have savings. I know you got that tax refund. We need this money today." I had $17,600 in my savings account. Every dollar I'd scraped together from 3 years of freelance work. It was supposed to be my emergency fund, my business startup fund, my get off the couch and into my own apartment fund. "Which hospital?" I asked. "I'll come there now." "No." My mother's voice turned sharp. "There's no time. Wire the money to this account." She rattled off routing numbers. "Do it now, Sophia. Your sister's life is on the line. Don't you dare tell us you can't measure up when it actually matters." My hands were shaking as I logged into my bank. I stared at that number. $17,600. 3 years of work. 3 years of eating ramen and skipping social events and taking every editing job that came my way. I sent $15,000. I kept $2,600 for rent and groceries. The wire transfer went through at 10:52 a.m. I texted my mother. "Sent, please tell Isabella I love her." No response. I called at 3 p.m. voicemail. I called at 6 p.m. voicemail. I called my father. Blocked. I called Isabella's cell, out of service. At 11:30 that night, I drove to St. David's Medical Center. I went to the surgical floor. I asked about Isabella Rivera. The nurse checked her computer. We don't have anyone by that name admitted today. I tried 2 other hospitals. Nothing. I called my mother 14 times over the next 3 days. Every call went to a voicemail box that was suddenly full. I drove to my parents' house in Georgetown. The gate code had been changed. I waited outside for 2 hours until a neighbor told me my parents had left for a cruise that morning. A cruise. I sat in my car outside that gate, and I understood. There was no tumor. There was no surgery. There was just $15,000 of my money, gone, and a family that had decided I was worth more as a bank account than as a daughter. I didn't cry. Something else happened instead. Something hard and clear settled into my chest. I drove back to San Antonio. I opened my laptop. I created a new email address with just my initials, sraudio@gmail.com. No last name, no connection to Rivera. I uploaded my portfolio to Upwork and Fiverr under the business name Soundsmith Studios. I bid on every audiobook narration job I could find. Within a month, I had 5 clients. Within 6 months, I was booking out 8 weeks in advance. Within a year, I'd made back that $15,000 and I'd moved into my own apartment. A small one-bedroom on the east side of Austin with hardwood floors and windows that actually opened. I never heard from my family. Not on my birthday, not on Christmas, not when I got my first $10,000 project. Silence. I worked, I built, I stayed invisible. By 2021, I'd hired my first contractor. By 2022, I had 4 full-time employees and we'd produced 180 audiobooks. In 2023, I incorporated as Rivera Sound Collective, LLC, and signed an office lease downtown. We had 12 full-time staff and 8 contractors. Our client list included 3 New York Times best-selling authors. We had 85,000 podcast subscribers. Nobody knew my face. Nobody knew my real name. I was just S. Rivera, founder and CEO on the paperwork. I liked it that way. I'd learned that invisibility was a kind of power. In January 2025, I got an email from Horizon Media Partners. They wanted to acquire Rivera Sound Collective. The offer was $9.8 million, $6.5 million cash up front. I read that email 4 times. I walked to my office window and looked out at the Austin skyline. I thought about my father's wine glass raised to Isabella. I thought about my mother's voice. Don't you dare tell us you can't measure up. I thought about the $15,000. I scheduled the due diligence meetings. Horizon sent their team. They requested tax returns, payroll records, contracts, incorporation documents, standard procedure. We handed everything over. 3 weeks into due diligence, I got a call from an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. Sophia? The voice was familiar but wrong, strained. It's Isabella. I couldn't speak. 7 years of silence, and now her voice in my ear like no time had passed at all. I need to see you, she said. Today. It's about Mom and Dad. It's about 2019. I just found something. We met at a coffee shop on South Congress at 6 p.m. Isabella looked older, thinner. She sat down across from me and slid a manila envelope across the table. I'm on Horizon's acquisition team, she said. I work in their due diligence department. When your file came across my desk last week, I saw the name Rivera Sound Collective. I saw the incorporation date. I saw your signature on the LLC documents, S. Rivera. She looked at me with something I'd never seen in her face before. Shame. I didn't know it was you. They never told me. Who never told you what? Mom and Dad. Her voice cracked. The surgery. Sophia, there was no surgery. There was never anything wrong with me. I was in Chicago that entire week for a work conference. March 2019. I have the hotel receipts. I have the conference badge. I didn't even know they'd called you until 3 months later when Mom mentioned you'd finally contributed to the family, for once. My throat closed up. What? I asked what she meant. She said you'd sent money for my medical emergency. I said I never had a medical emergency. She told me I was remembering wrong, that I'd had a minor procedure and clearly the anesthesia had affected my memory. I believed her, Sophia. I actually believed her. Until last week when I pulled my medical records for the Horizon background check. There's nothing. No hospital admission. No surgery. No tumor. Nothing. She opened the envelope. Inside were printed medical records, hotel receipts, conference schedules, bank statements. I saw a wire transfer receipt dated March 15th, 2019. $15,000 from Sofia Rivera to Robert and Elena Rivera's joint account. I confronted them yesterday, Isabella said. I recorded it. Do you want to hear? I nodded. I couldn't speak. She pulled out her phone and pressed play. My parents' voices filled the coffee shop. Isabella's voice. Why did you tell Sophia I had cancer? Why did you take $15,000 from her? My mother. That's between us and your sister. It's none of your concern. My father. Sophia owed us that money anyway. We raised her. We paid for her food and her roof for 18 years. She finally paid us back. Isabella's voice. You committed fraud. You stole from her. You blocked her. She tried to visit you. I found her messages. My mother. Sophia was always dramatic, always playing the victim. We did what we had to do to teach her about responsibility. My father. If she contacts you about this, you tell her we'll file a police report. We'll tell them she abandoned us. We'll tell them she threatened us. We have friends at the courthouse. The recording ended. Isabella looked at me with tears running down her face. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I swear I didn't know. I sat there holding that envelope. 7 years. They'd stolen $15,000 and then stolen 7 more years by making me believe I deserved the silence. They'd told Isabella I'd abandoned them. They'd rewritten history so thoroughly that even my sister believed I was the villain. There's more, Isabella said quietly. Last month, they hired a private investigator to find out about your business. When they found out about the Horizon deal, they started planning. They're going to show up at your office. They're going to threaten to expose you publicly, claim you stole from them, file complaints. They want a cut of the acquisition. I heard them on the phone with their lawyer. They think you'll pay them to go away. When? Soon. Maybe this week. I looked at my sister. Really looked at her. She'd lost weight. She had circles under her eyes. She'd risked her career to pull these records. Why are you helping me? I asked. Because I should have helped you 7 years ago, she said. Because they used my name to steal from you. Because I'm tired of being the golden child in a family made of rust. The next day, I called my lawyer. His name was Marcus Chen. He'd helped me incorporate the business, and he'd handled the Horizon negotiations. I told him everything. I gave him Isabella's evidence. He listened without interrupting. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. They're going to escalate, probably this week, and when they do, we need to be ready with a response that ends this permanently. What do you suggest? He smiled. It wasn't a warm smile. We let them come. We let them make their threats in public, and then we show them exactly what they're dealing with. 2 days later, I got another voicemail from my father. Sophia, we know about the $9.8 million. We know about Rivera Sound Collective. You built that company with money you took from this family. You owe us at least a third. Call me by Friday, or we'll file a claim with the Texas Attorney General's office. We'll tell them you committed elder fraud. We'll tell them you abandoned us when we needed medical care. We already filed a complaint with Adult Protective Services. This is your last chance to do the right thing. I saved that voicemail too. On Friday at 4 p.m. My assistant told me my parents were in the lobby. They'd shown up unannounced, demanding a meeting. I told her to send them up. They walked into my office like they owned it. My father in a golf shirt and khakis. My mother in a St. John's suit I knew cost $800 because Isabella used to wear the same brand. They looked around at the exposed brick, the sound booths visible through glass walls, the row of gold-framed awards. "Well," my mother said, sitting down without being invited, "you've done well for yourself." My father didn't sit. He stood by my desk, hands in his pockets, looking at me the way he used to look at me when I brought home a B instead of an A. "We need to talk about your responsibilities to this family." "I don't have a family," I said. My mother's face hardened. "That's a cruel thing to say, Sophia. After everything we've done for you. You stole $15,000 from me. You faked a medical emergency. You blocked my calls for 7 years." My father shrugged. "We needed the money. You had it. That's what family does. And now you want more. You owe us," he said flatly. "You wouldn't have any of this without us. We raised you. We paid for your education. We gave you a foundation. 1/3 of that acquisition money is ours by right." I looked at them. These people who'd given me life and then spent 31 years teaching me I wasn't worth keeping. I thought about all the Sunday dinners where I'd sat invisible. I thought about the dish towel in my numb hands. I thought about sitting outside their gate at midnight, understanding I'd been erased. "No," I said. My father's face went red. "We'll file a lawsuit. We'll drag your name through every newspaper in Texas. We'll tell everyone you're a fraud. We'll tell your clients you stole from your own parents. We'll destroy everything you've built." "You can try," I said. "Or you can meet me tomorrow at the Starbucks on Lamar Boulevard at 10 a.m. And we can discuss this like adults." My mother stood up. "We'll be there, and you better come ready to write a check." They left. I sat in my office until the sun went down. Then I called Marcus Chen and Isabella. "Tomorrow morning," I said. "It's time." That night, I didn't sleep. I sat on my apartment floor with every piece of evidence spread out around me. Wire transfer receipts, medical records proving no surgery, 7 years of blocked call logs, voicemails, text messages sent into the void, the Adult Protective Services complaint closure letter stating no evidence of neglect had been found. Marcus had pulled everything, documented everything, organized everything into a 47-page dossier with tabs and exhibits like a legal filing. At the back of the dossier was Isabella's testimony statement, signed and notarized. She'd written 3 pages describing what our parents had done, what she'd discovered, what she'd heard on the recording. She'd included her conference receipts from March 2019. She'd included her medical records showing no procedures. She'd included screenshots of my blocked numbers from my parents' phone bills that Marcus had subpoenaed through a pre-litigation discovery request. The last page was a cease and desist letter. Marcus had written it in the language of someone who'd been doing this for 20 years. It demanded immediate cessation of all contact, withdrawal of all false complaints, and acknowledgement in writing that no money was owed. It threatened criminal charges for wire fraud, extortion, and filing false reports if they violated the agreement. I read through the dossier twice. I thought about bringing it. I thought about leaving it behind and just walking away. In the end, I put it in my bag. At 9:45 a.m., I walked into the Starbucks on Lamar Boulevard. It was Saturday morning, which meant the place was packed. At least 40 people scattered across tables, working on laptops, reading newspapers, waiting in line for coffee. The manager knew me. I came here every Saturday morning to work on client edits. She waved from behind the counter. My parents were already sitting at a table by the window. Isabella sat 2 tables away, facing them. She'd told them she was coming to support them, to help them get what they deserved from the daughter who'd betrayed them. Marcus Chen sat at the table behind my parents, laptop open, looking like any other customer working on a Saturday morning. I bought a coffee I wouldn't drink and sat down across from my parents. My father didn't waste time. "We've discussed it. We'll settle for $2 million, cash, transferred by Monday. Then we'll sign a document stating we have no further claim to your business. You have no claim now, I said. My mother leaned forward. Sophia, don't be difficult. You owe us everything. We're your parents. You wouldn't exist without us. We gave you life. We gave you opportunities. The least you can do is share your success. You took $15,000 from me 7 years ago, I said. My voice was level, calm. People at nearby tables were starting to glance over. You told me Isabella had ovarian cancer. You told me she needed emergency surgery. You made me wire the money in 2 hours. Then you blocked my calls and disappeared. My father waved his hand dismissively. That was a misunderstanding. We needed money for medical expenses. You contributed. That's what families do. Isabella was in Chicago, I said clearly, loud enough that the people at 3 nearby tables could hear. She was at a pharmaceutical conference. There was no surgery. There was no tumor. You committed wire fraud. My mother's face went pale. That's a vicious lie. Isabella stood up. She walked over to our table. She looked at our parents and her voice was steady. It's not a lie. I was in Chicago, March 11th through March 17th, 2019. I have the hotel receipts. I have my conference badge. I have my medical records. I never had surgery. I never had a tumor. You used my name to steal $15,000 from our sister. My father turned to Isabella. For the first time, I saw something like panic in his face. Isabella, you don't remember correctly. You had a minor procedure. Stop, Isabella said. I recorded you, both of you, 2 days ago when I asked you about the money. She pulled out her phone. I have the recording. I gave a copy to a lawyer. I gave a copy to Sophia. I gave a copy to Adult Protective Services to close the false complaint you filed. The Starbucks had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now. The manager had come out from behind the counter. A woman at the table next to us had her phone out, recording. My mother's voice rose. We are your parents. You will not disrespect us like this. We gave you everything. You gave me life, I said quietly. Then you spent 31 years teaching me I wasn't worth keeping. I reached into my bag and pulled out the dossier. I set it on the table between us. This is every piece of evidence. Wire transfer receipts showing I sent you $15,000 on March 15th, 2019. Isabella's medical records showing no surgery, no tumor, no hospital admission that year. 7 years of call logs showing I tried to reach you 247 times. Text messages, voicemails, the Adult Protective Services complaint you filed last month, and the closure letter stating no evidence of neglect was found. Your voicemail from 3 days ago where you said, "You owe us everything. We're your parents." Your second voicemail where you threatened to file false claims with the Attorney General's office. I slid the dossier across the table. My father didn't touch it. The last page is a cease and desist letter, I continued. You will not contact me again. You will not contact my business. You will not file any complaints or lawsuits. You will sign a document acknowledging that no money is owed and you will leave me alone. If you violate this agreement, my attorney will file criminal charges for wire fraud, extortion, and filing false official reports. Those charges carry prison sentences in Texas. My mother was crying now. Real tears or fake ones, I couldn't tell anymore. How can you do this to us? We're your family. You made sure I wasn't family 7 years ago, I said. I stood up. My hands weren't shaking. My voice wasn't shaking. I'd spent 7 years building something they couldn't touch, and they couldn't touch it now. You wanted to know what I measured up to. I measured up to myself. That was always enough. I looked at Isabella. She nodded. We walked out together. Behind us, my parents sat at that table with the dossier between them. Marcus Chen closed his laptop and stood up. He placed a business card on their table. My office will contact you Monday morning with the signature documents, he said. You have 48 hours to comply. We left them there. Through the window, I could see my father opening the dossier. I could see his face as he turned the pages. I could see my mother's hands shaking. I could see the other customers watching them, whispering. I got in my car. Isabella got in the passenger seat. We sat there for a long moment. "Thank you," I said. "I should have believed you 7 years ago," Isabella said. "I should have questioned them. I should have looked for you. You're here now." "I quit my job yesterday," she said. "I can't work for Horizon knowing they're acquiring your company while I'm on their due diligence team. Conflict of interest. I gave my 2 weeks." I looked at my sister. The golden child who'd lost her shine. The daughter who'd figured out that gold plating isn't the same as gold. "I'm hiring a director of operations," I said. "Someone who understands audio production, contract negotiations, and client relations. Someone who knows how to build systems. Are you interested?" Isabella started crying. Real tears this time. "Are you serious?" "You stood up for me when it cost you everything," I said. "I'm serious." 3 days later, my parents' attorney called Marcus Chen. They'd signed the cease and desist agreement. They acknowledged in writing that no money was owed, that all past financial transactions were settled, and that they would have no contact with me or my business. The document was notarized and filed with the Travis County Courthouse. I never heard from them again. The Horizon acquisition closed in April 2025, $9.8 million. I kept half. I distributed the other half to my employees, based on years of service and contribution. The woman who'd been my first hire got $180,000. She cried in my office for 20 minutes. Isabella started as director of operations in May. She was good at it, better than good. She understood what I'd built, and she helped me build it bigger. By the end of the year, Rivera Sound Collective had expanded into video production and voiceover coaching. We had 20 full-time employees, and we'd moved into a larger space with a rooftop deck where we held client meetings overlooking downtown Austin. One Saturday in December, Isabella and I were working late, editing a holiday special episode for one of our podcast clients. She looked up from her screen. "Do you ever think about them?" she asked. "Sometimes," I said, "not as much as I used to." "I think about what they could have had," she said, "if they'd just been different. If they'd just loved us instead of trying to use us. They could have had daughters who wanted to share success with them. They could have been part of this." I thought about the Sunday dinners. I thought about the dish towel. I thought about 7 years of silence. They chose what they wanted. They wanted money more than daughters. "Do you hate them?" I considered it, really considered it. "No," I said finally. "I just don't need them. That's not the same thing." Isabella smiled. "I like that." At Christmas, Isabella and I went to San Marcos for the weekend. We stayed at a bed and breakfast on the river. We went tubing even though it was December and the water was freezing. We drank hot chocolate and watched Christmas movies and didn't talk about our parents at all. On Christmas morning, I got a text from a number I didn't recognize. "Merry Christmas, Sophia. We're thinking of you. Love, Mom and Dad." I showed it to Isabella. She took my phone and blocked the number. "They don't get to do that," she said. "They don't get to act like nothing happened." "I know," I said. I deleted the message. We made pancakes for breakfast. We opened gifts we'd bought for each other. Silly things like fuzzy socks and coffee mugs with inside jokes printed on them. We FaceTimed with my team members who were with their own families. We had a quiet, simple, drama-free Christmas. It was the best Christmas I'd ever had. If you're watching this, and you've ever had to choose between keeping the peace and keeping yourself, I need you to know something. Silence isn't peace. Silence is the price you pay to keep someone else comfortable. And you deserve more than comfort. You deserve truth. If you stayed quiet to survive, type "I survived" in the comments. If you spoke up and lost people because of it, type "I chose me." Both are brave. Both are valid. Both are enough. If this story meant something to you, check the description for more stories just like this one. Thank you for being here. And if you're spending the holidays with chosen family instead of blood family, you're not alone. Now I'm 31. I'm sitting in my office on a Tuesday morning. Rain is pattering against the windows. I have a cup of coffee going cold on my desk and a client meeting in 20 minutes. Isabella is in the conference room rehearsing her presentation. My team is scattered across the space, working on projects that will become audiobooks and podcasts and training modules. I built this. Not because my parents believed in me, not because Isabella thought I could, not because anyone told me I'd measure up. I built it because I measured up to myself. That was always enough.